a system software that works like a resource manager for managing the resources of the computer system for efficient execution of the program. So it is a resource manager. Operating system is a system software which works like a resource manager for efficient execution of the program. That means you have a set of program that you want to execute through your computer. So operating system acts like a mediator which allocates different resources to your program for execution. Now here there is a term efficient and another term is management or manager. Okay, so efficient in the sense efficient execution of the program. Efficient means how faster your program is. You have submitted a program and how first you get the response from the computer. That measures the efficiency of the program. This can be one parameter. The second parameter, what is the memory requirement for executing your program? What is the minimum size of the memory with which you can execute your program? So these are the mainly two parameters with which you can measure the efficiency of the program execution. Okay, so operating system acts like a resource manager for efficient execution of the program. So I have told what is efficient execution of the program. The other term is management or manager. The operating system is called a manager. So manager means which manages different available resources. In computer system, there are many resources, starting from memory, CPU, registers, monitor, keyboard, mouse, input, all input-output devices, memory, CPUs, your hard disks. These are all resources. Now, for execution of this program, you need different resources. So how efficiently these resources may be assigned or allocated to this program such that your program will be executed faster. That is our objective. We always look for faster machine. We always look for faster machine. The moment we go for purchasing a machine, the moment we go for purchasing a machine, the basic specification that we use to provide is the size of the memory, that is the RAM size, 4 GB or 8 GB or 16 GB. So that is one parameter that we use to give. The second parameter that we use to give is the processing power. 3 GHz processor, 3.5 GHz processor, 4 GHz processor. So there is the execution power of the processor. So these are the two things that we normally give for the specification while purchasing a computer. Okay, so that's why these management terms comes into the picture. Second philosophical aspect I used to tell you that if you think of a very simple example is class routine. Even in the online system, we have a class routine, right? So if you think of the class routine, in the class routine also, we have different resources. For example, teacher can be one resource, classroom can be one resource, maybe classroom equipped with projector, a whiteboard, these are resources. So these resources are needed while taking a class. Now, there is a constraint of the availability of the resource. You don't have as much require as many number of classroom. You don't have it. You don't have a huge number of whiteboard. You don't have huge number of projector. You don't have huge number of teachers. So that means there is always a scarcity of the resources. We have a limited number of classrooms. We have a limited number of teachers. We have a limited number of blackboard. We have limited number of lab. Now, how we will allocate all this classroom with different teachers, with different other resources, such that the requirement of all the students belonging to different branches, different years, and different section can fulfill their requirement. That's why we need a class routine. We need a class routine. The basic requirement of having a class routine is we don't have an infinite number of resources. Another thing, your requirement is you can attend the class from 8:15 to 12:15 and then from 1:30 to 5:30. So that means there is a time limitations. You are not always free to attend the class. So based on all these requirements from the teacher side, student side, and the available resource, we have to prepare a class routine such that the requirement of the curriculum can be fulfilled. The requirement of the curriculum is there are some subjects which requires 3 classes per week. There are some subjects which requires 4 classes per week. If there is a lab class, it should be 3 contiguous classes. So there are different subjects which have different requirement of resources. You have to manage all these things, and that's why you have a requirement of a class routine. So for any academic institute, any university which deals with number of courses need to make a proper class routine. Otherwise, there will be conflict of classes. That means 2 teachers are going to the same class. There are 2 batch of students going to the same classroom. 2 batch of students going to the same lab at the same time. So this type of conflict should not arise. And that's why you need a management. Okay. So just like the CPU or processor management, the same way we have memory management. We have memory management. And why we need the memory management? So the basic philosophy or the basic motivation behind this particular chapter is think of a RAM or the memory. This is reserved for operating system. This portion is reserved for operating system. The remaining portion is for user space. Sometimes this is called system space. So the operating system, so the entire RAM is divided mainly in 2 parts, the system space and the user space. So user space is for running all your programs. Right. Now think of a hypothetical situation that you are only one user using this computer, and your requirement is to execute only one program at a time. So to execute only one program at a time, this entire memory space is available for your program. You don't need to have any partition for that. Think of a hypothetical situation that you have a dedicated classroom for the 5th semester CSC. You have a dedicated lab for 5th semester CSC. Anytime you can do the class. anytime you can attend the lab. Then you don't need much efficient class routine. But our requirement is different. The requirement is, what is the difference? The difference is this user space is not only for executing a single program, but today our requirement has changed a lot. We will not be satisfying just by running a single program at a time. Rather, we will be running more than one program at a time, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 programs. For example, the moment I start the machine, it will immediately start the browser with Facebook. Immediately the browser will start with a WhatsApp tab. So they will be running in the background. My music player will be running all the time. And in the front, I will be writing my code in Python. So you see, the same memory space is being used by many programs at a time. Maybe one is for Facebook tab, one space is for WhatsApp, one space is used for your this music player, one space is used for running your Python code. So this way you need to use this thing. So you need some kind of manager. You need to have some kind of manager who will allocate this space to different programs at the same time. And that's why the need of memory management come into the picture. First of all, you are not executing, or we are not happy just by running a single program at a time. This is first thing. Second thing, we don't have infinitely size memory. The memory size is limited, maybe 4 GB RAM, 8 GB RAM, 16 GB RAM, but that is a limited. We cannot increase dynamically while running the program. So what is the objective? The objective is, with the 8 GB RAM, how can I execute all the 5, 6, 7 programs at the same time? So we need a manager. So that's why operating system is called a memory manager, just like the other manager. So operating system is a resource manager. Bottom the line, you can say operating system is a process manager or CPU manager. Operating system is a memory manager. Operating system is a IO manager. Operating system is a storage manager. So in a nutshell, operating system is a resource manager. And that leads to the necessity of this particular chapter, a particular portion of the curriculum is under operating system is memory management. Okay, so these are the basic content of this particular chapter. Is the background. Then what is swapping? Contiguous allocation of memory, paging, segmentation with paging. So these are the things that we will be discussing in the entire of this chapter. So what is the background? The basic philosophical idea behind execution of a program, I think Subrata sir already discussed the difference between program and process. So I'm just again give a brief. A process is in the execution mode of a program. You can write a program in your computer. You can write a program in your copy. You can write a program in your notepad. You can write a program in the wall also. But that is not in an executable condition. To get the output from the program, you have to submit the program to the computer. And while this program is in the execution mode by the computer, we will say it is a process. So that is the difference between a program and a process. So program in execution is called a process. Program is called passive entity because you can write it in pen and paper, you can write it in the wall, you can write the program in notepad, you can save the notepad on your pen drive, you can carry it in your pocket. So that is not an execution mode. But while you submit this program, whatever programming language you have, Python, Java, C, whatever programming language, while you submit this program to the computer system for execution, we will say that state of the program is called process. So you have the program, you have submitted that program to the computer system for execution. Different resource requirement of that particular program will be assigned to it. So this particular program will be allocated with some different resources, maybe memory, CPU, some IO, some storage. Then that mode of program is called a process. So in that language, we can come more down to the line. You have to bring the program from your secondary storage, maybe from your pen drive, maybe from your hard disk. You have to bring the program from secondary storage to primary memory. That means program cannot be executed. A program cannot be executed from a secondary storage. You have to submit the program to the system for execution. And then this program will be loaded in the main memory. That means the instruction of the program can only be executed by the CPU when the instructions are available in the main memory. You have written a program maybe in C or Python or Java, whatever. So that means it is a set of instruction written in some programming language. That is program. And while you submit that program, it will be copied from secondary storage to primary memory. Now, how this program will be copied from secondary to primary memory, how the memory allocation will take place, that we'll be discussing. Now, instead of submitting one program, you may submit more than one program at a time. So there will be an input queue. So the program that are being submitted at the same time to the system for executions, they will maintain an input queue. And a program will be taken from the head of the queue and will be allocated the memory. Because unless the program is loaded in the main memory, it cannot be executed. Unless the instruction of the program are in the main memory, cannot be executed. So basic philosophy for executing any instruction, the basic philosophy for executing any instruction, the instruction must be loaded in the main memory. That means it must occupy some address. It must occupy some address in the main memory. Then only that instruction can be executed by the CPU. That means the instructions and an address of the memory must join. That is called address binding. So binding of instructions and data to memory. So you have a set of instructions written in a programming language. You have written a program in any programming language. That is a set of instructions. Along with the instructions, there are associated data with it. Maybe you are using some integer, float data, maybe data structures, all these things. So how these instructions and data will be copied in the main memory or in a particular address in the main memory, that is called the binding. Address binding of instruction and data to memory address. Yeah, so address binding at binding of instruction and data to main memory. So there are three terms: binding the instructions and data with the main memory. So main memory, you have a free space with a different address location. So there are different instructions that needs to be loaded in the main memory. So instruction must copy in the main memory with some proper address, because with that address, the instruction will be executed by the CPU. So the instruction needs to be binded with the main memory address. Similarly, the data that will be used by the instructions will also need to be copied in the main memory address. So these things can happen in three different ways. That can take place during the compilation time, during the loading time, or during the execution time. It can take place in any of the time. If the memory locations, the memory address are known a priori, then absolute code can be generated and must recompile if starting location changes. What is that? So this is your main memory. Maybe they are occupied with some other program. So this is the free space. During the compilation of your code, during the compilation of the code, if I know that this is the free space and this will be free always for executing my code, then the instructions and data will be assigned with the different addresses available to it. So if during the compile, if I know this is my free space available, so this free space so different addresses of this free space can be bound with the instruction and data of the program. So this can take place during the compile time itself. But if you recompile the code, or if you're maybe in the next time when you are again compiling and that location has been changed, you may be getting a new locations. So you have to recompile the same code such that the same instruction and data will now be bound with different address. So it is not always the guarantee that the same space will be used several times whenever the same program is being used, because that space may be allocated by some other program. So every time you recompile, the starting location may be changed, or in either other way, if the starting location change, you have to recompile the code. Otherwise, it will not get the free addresses of the memory. So that is called the binding at compile time. The second is binding at load time. So binding the instruction and data to memory address during load time. Must generate relocatable code if the memory location is not known at compile time. If you are not aware about the free space during the compile time, then during the load time, you can use the relocatable. You can generate the relocatable code. That means you are not, during compile time, you are not, you don't have the a priori knowledge about the free space in the memory. So after you compile, you get the object code and all, then object code and other subroutine and all, these are connected. Now you can give a location that this is the free, from here you have a free space. You have a free space. So this free space can be used. So during load time, the data and instruction can be assigned with the free addresses. So one is compile time, another is load time, and the third case is execution time, which is very common. And today's most of the operating system uses binding an instruction during execution time. So if so, so these are the issues when you go for compile time and load time. Every time you need to relocate and all. But execution time, binding delayed until the runtime if the process can be moved during its execution from one memory segment to another memory, another space. In today's operating system, or in today's requirement, we are not habituated just by executing only one program. This is one idea. So that means our requirement has changed a lot. We want to execute 5-6 programs at the same time. This is one requirement. The second requirement is the size of the program is very large. Maybe you have a very large data set for your execution. In this type of case, during the executions, the portion of the program or the portion of the code may be changed from one location to another locations, because there are number of times you need to go back from, you may need to copy from secondary memory to primary memory and back from primary memory to secondary memory. So your address will be changed during execution. So that's why if you go for the modern computing system, it goes for binding at execution time. It goes for binding at execution time. So during the executions, the instructions are bound with the memory address. So whatever we discussed, that is written here also. You have a source program. You have a source program. You have a compiler. If you know the a priori knowledge about the available free space in the memory, then you can do the binding in compile time. If you are not aware about the fact that this space will be always available, or if you are not aware about the fact about the free space during the compile time, then you can go for binding at load time, while these loading activities of the program are taken place. So load means along with the program code, it may ask for different header file, the functions from library functions, some library functions, some other system call and all. Should that take place during this load time? So the binding can take place in load time. The most dynamic one is the execution time. So you can go for, so that's why it's called dynamic linking or binary. dynamic binding. So all modern operating system goes for binding at execution time. Now, there is another very important concept, address space. This is called logical address and the physical address. So the typical example of this is my main memory, the RAM. This portion is reserved for operating system. The remaining portion is for user. For executing different program, right? Now, this space is used simultaneously for executing 5, 6, 10 program at a time. So simultaneously, more than one program are being executed on the same space, right? Now, each and every location in the main memory, the RAM or the physical memory, or it is the memory designed in silicon devices. So all the address of these locations in this silicon device is called physical address. So it is the address seen by the memory unit. The actual address in the memory. It is the actual address in the main memory. Then what is logical address, or what is the need of logical address? The logical address is the address which is generated by the CPU, also referred to as virtual address. What is that? Suppose you have submitted a program P1, then another program P2, maybe another program P3. P1 is located in this space, maybe this is P1. Maybe P2 is located in this space. Maybe P3 is located in this space. Just hypothetically you think. So each of the instructions of this program 1, each of these instructions of program 1 must have a definite address in the main memory. Because operating system will copy each and every instructions of P1, each and every instructions and data of P1 to the main memory. So they will be located in some address of the main memory. These addresses are called similarly for P2, similarly for P3. Now, the starting address of P1 will definitely be different from the starting address of P2. Starting address of P2 must be definitely different from the starting address of P3, because they are assigned to different physical address in the main memory. But while CPU is executing this program, CPU is executing this program or this instruction of this program, CPU will treat this program as if independent program. Independent program means as if CPU have only one program P1 to execute, no other program. While CPU is going to execute P2, as if CPU is having only one program P2 that it is going to execute, no other program. Similarly, while CPU is going to execute P3, CPU will think that CPU has only one program, that P3, that it is going to execute. The instruction of P3 is going to execute. So CPU will treat this entire program as a one single unit, and it will start the address from the beginning. Similarly, while CPU is executing this program, it will also treat as a separate program, separate single program. So it will start at the beginning. So it is the beginning address. But actually, this address is mapped to some physical location of this. This address is actually mapped to some physical address of this. So beginning of P1, beginning instruction of P1, or the beginning address of P1 is somewhere in main memory. Beginning address of P2 is in somewhere in main memory. So their physical address are different, but their beginning address or the address of the first instruction may be same, because CPU is treating this program as a single program. This program is a single program. So this address generated by the CPU during execution is called the logical address. So address generated by the CPU, address of the instruction generated by the CPU during the execution of the program is called the logical address or the virtual address. And what is the physical address? Physical address is the actual address where the actual instruction is loaded in the silicon device. So RAM is the silicon device where the actual instruction is loaded. RAM is the silicon device where the actual instruction is loaded. That is a physical address. But CPU is generating the logical address. So there must be a mapping from logical address to physical address. There must be a mapping from logical address to physical address, as well as this binding of logical address to the physical address. This binding is nothing but it is the mapping from logical address to physical address. Now you may have the questions, then sir, what is the need of keeping two separate addressing scheme? Now for the time being, I will be giving very brief, but gradually over the entire chapters, when we go for more detail about this chapter, the thing will automatically clear what is the need of logical address and physical address. Okay. So let us take an example. All of you stay in the hostel, boys hostel or girls hostel. At least for boys hostel, I can give you the nomenclature of addressing because I used to stay in the same hostel, for hall 1 for 2 years, then hall 4 for 2 years. Starting from the mess block to middle block, then main block, then new block, all the blocks have a starting address, maybe 101. So 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, like this way. Then in the next floor, 201, 203, 204, 20, like this. Then 301, 302, 331. Then the next block comes 332, like this way. So this actual address, this room number, is the physical address of a room in the hostel. It is the physical address. It is the physical address of the room in the hostel. Now, what is logical address? First room in the ground floor of mess block. First room of the ground floor of the main block. First room of the ground floor of the new block. These are the logical address. Each and every block I am treating as a separate block. First room of this block. First room, ground floor of this block. First room, ground floor of this block. First room, ground floor of this block. Because they are all identical. But the actual physical address are different. So normally, when we stay in the hostel, we don't say room number with each other. Rather, instead of saying room number, we are habituated to tell like this way. तो ग्राउंड फ्लोर का पहला वाला रूम चले जाओ और ग्राउंड फ्लोर का सेकंड वाला रूम चले जाओ. That means, or even if you are in a particular room and you want to tell your friend that किस room पे जाना है, so you normally you will say that you go to third room from here. You go to third room from here. So you are not giving the actual address. You are not calculating the actual address. Rather, what you are doing, you are referring some kind of relative room number. From my room, you go to the third room. From my room, in the right side, you go to the second room. This you can say as a logical address. But the physical address is the actual address. 301, 302, 303, 304. Okay. So while executing the program, both the things are necessary. Otherwise, you cannot achieve multi-programming environment. Multi-programming environment means at a time you want to run more than one program. That is our objective. Our objective is to run more than one program at a time. And with time efficient. Time efficient matlab, with a lesser time you want to execute your program. So this cannot be achieved only having the logical address, only having the physical address. That's why there is a need of logical address. So memory management unit, that comes, that's why there is a new term called memory management unit, which map the logical address to physical address. Think of a scenario, how it works. During the execution, CPU generates a logical address, this. This logical address will be added to a relocation register. What is that? I will be coming. Adding the logical address with the relocation register will give the physical address, which is the actual address in the silicon device. Now, this is one program, P1. This is another program, P2. This is another program, P3. Each and every program has a base address from where it starts allocation. base address. Each and every program has a base address. Base address is the physical address of the main memory from where a program starts. So P1 starts maybe in some location of the main memory. So that is the base address of P1. Base address of P2 will be different. The starting address of process P2. Base address of P3 will be different. Now, for example, this is my process P1. CPU is executing this instruction of process P1. This is the instruction. So it is the logical space. As if CPU is having only one program to execute. So it started from 000 to, depending on the size of the program. During the execution, CPU generates a logical address 346. Now, to fetch the actual address, to fetch the actual instruction and data of this instruction, CPU need to reach to that particular location in the physical address. Because physical address is the address where the actual instruction and data is located. Physical address is the address where actual data and instruction is located. So to fetch the actual data and instructions of P1, CPU has to reach to that particular location. So how CPU will reach? CPU generates the logical address 346. That logical address will be added with the base address. So that will reach it to the actual physical address where the instruction is located. So CPU generates a logical address during the execution of the program. That logical address will be added with the base register of that particular program. That gives the the actual physical location in the silicon device to fetch the instruction. And that takes place dynamically. That's why it's called dynamically loading. Okay. Okay. Hello. Do you have any questions till now? Or ki bolo tomader kichu boktobbo ache naki? Hello, everybody. Yeah.
Yes, sir, it's okay.
At least somebody should ask the question. No, I don't think everything will be okay. So you should ask some questions. Bolo, or should I repeat something, some slide? Because this way taking the classes is very, very difficult, or also for your side attending the classes is I can realize your feelings. This is a very, very difficult situation. Bolo. Bolo.
Sir, is this logical address same as the virtual address?
Yes. Yes.
So the virtual address is basically device to like to address everything like I/O, the hard disks, and all. So it's basically bigger than the actual address space, right, sir?
Right. Exactly right. Right. So that means, so actually I was not discussing today with those things. So yeah, I'm just let me tell you. So physical address has a limitation, maybe 2 GB RAM, 4 GB RAM, 8 GB RAM, right? But logical address logical address is something like some kind of mathematical algorithm that we will be discussing later. So you can extend to a large extent. you can extend to a large extent, right? And that is dynamically managed. So user will never feel the shortage of memory. User will never feel the shortage of memory because user will be running with the feelings that my program is running in the logical address, because CPU is executing the instruction from the logical address. CPU generates the address of logical address space. So user will feel that I have enough space in my memory, in my computer. I don't have any shortage for running the program. But actually, you have a limitation of physical memory, maybe 4 GB RAM or 8 GB RAM or 16 GB RAM, like this way. Bolo, Dhiraj.
Yeah, so I was wondering where the relocation register comes into place, sir. Why do you need to add this thing, sir? The base location. Why can't you just convert it?
Okay. Yeah. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions? Hello?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
It is visible. So for each and every space, just let me know. Oh, I cannot use the pen. Anyway, so CPU generates the logical address. So logical address is each, I mean, you have 10 programs running concurrently. Okay, so there are 10 logical address space will be there. Now, logical address space is not the actual address where the instruction is located. Instruction is actually located in some physical location in the main memory. You have main memory, RAM, where the physical address, physical instruction, the instruction, actual instruction is located. Right.
Yes, sir. I get that part. Okay, so I was wondering, sir, this physical address will obviously be, lesser bits than the logical address because the virtual address space is bigger. Yes, sir.
Hmm.
Yes. So at one point, when you add some relocation register address to the logical address, it will be more than the physical address space, right,
Right.
sir?
Right.
How is that handled?
Yes. So there is another concept that we in the next chapter or next slide we will have, where you can execute the program whose size is larger than your main memory by using some portion of your secondary disk. But you will be your program will be divided into number of small block. It's called page. So that we'll be discussing later. And whenever there is a requirement, each page will be called from secondary to primary memory. So at the beginning, all the entire program will not be loaded in the main memory. Some portion of the program will be in the main memory. The remaining portion of the remaining portion of the program will be in the secondary memory. But while CPU generates the logical address, this logical address will be for the entire program. Now, operating system will check the generated logical address corresponds to a physical address, but that physical address, whether it is in the main memory or in the secondary memory. If it is in the main memory, it will be fetched from main memory itself. If it is not in the main memory, then it will be called from the secondary memory, secondary disk to main memory. Okay, so that we'll be discussing. That's why I told you that the entire concept of logical address will not be cleared with this slide only. Okay.
Okay, sir.
वाला और कुछ किसी का क्वेश्चन? চিরঞ্জিত কোনো কোশ্চেন আছে তোমার?
না স্যার, মোটামুটি ক্লিয়ার আছে।
মোটামুটি ক্লিয়ার আছে? দেখো, if you have any questions you can ask. Even I don't bother that you have to ask in English only. You can use your
Yes.
language.
I can use both the languages. It's
English,
okay with me.
Bengali, yeah, not this Malayalam or Telugu. I can't.
No sir.
Definitely you can ask in Odia or the Assamese. I think I can answer in Bengali at least.
Sir, I know
So don't
Bengali,
bother.
English,
I
and
mean,
Hindi.
it is for everybody to tell you that don't bother about your English pronunciation or English speaking power. Okay, so this is not the class of English. This is the class of operating system. So don't hesitate that my English is not good, so I should not ask the question in public. Better you ask in your Hindi or Bengali or some maybe Odia or Assamese. I don't bother. Okay, so but again I request everybody to please interact. Please interact. Otherwise it will be boring for both sides. Right?
Yes.
Okay,
Sir.
thank you then.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dheeraj.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Chalo. Bye.